Hello everybody. It's been a long time since I've did a Ask Me Stuff video, so I decided to go ahead and do one because I got a bunch of questions and other stuff to talk about. So figured I'd go ahead and do one. So we'll kick it off. Okay, for my product placement for today, beer and brats mustard. I don't know if I've done that one before, but it's on my desk. So stuff on my desk. Beer and brats mustard, and this is a broken fly swatter that I used to scratch my back. Oh, I got this. This is a new fly swatter, and this was made by the Amish up in Kentucky when we visited up there. So I have that one. Alright, so I got some questions, and as always you can send any questions about anything. I'm not saying I'll answer questions about anything, but you can send them to mbunker@michaelbunker.com. Just put in the subject line, put Ask Me Stuff, and I will see what I can do. Alright, number one, books. What books would you recommend to teach practical agrarian skills to someone who is 100% city slicker? Well, when we got started, and this is probably our second or third copy, this was the only book we had. Carla Emery's The Encyclopedia of Country Living, and when we got started, Carla was still alive. So, and this is the updated 9th edition. They may even have a new one, but we wear this book out. When we got started in our kind of farm agrarian life, we didn't know anything. We were city people. We were urbanites and or suburbanites, and the internet. Of course, the internet was around, but there was almost nothing on there about agrarian living or off-grid living. It wasn't like it is today. You could do a search on milking goats or something, and you wouldn't find anything. And so we pretty much had this book, and that's all we had. And there are better books on individual topics. Like in here, you could have. I'll open up a page. Making a wine bottle into a jelly glass, organizing food production. They've got all kinds of food how to grow things, sorghum growing, pretty much everything. It's an encyclopedia, so you could just look up how to milk a cow, and there are better books on individual topics now that didn't exist back then. So now you can actually go in, and I've got thousands of books, and you can get a book on building a barn or making a gate. All of that's in here, but we didn't have that, so this is what we started with. So I would definitely highly recommend this as a foundation tool to get started for someone who just doesn't know anything, because it worked for us. Rabbits, cattle, whatever, it's all in there. All right. Second question, how much does the land cost where you are? I have no idea right now. When we first moved out here, it was about, and it depends on how much you buy. So if you buy a small acreage, it would be a lot more. Most of the acreage where we are, it's big tracts. It was $1,100 or $1,200 an acre, I think, when we first came out here, and I've heard I know it shot up to $2,500 or $2,800 an acre, and then after 2008, a lot of people started selling land out here because they had bills to pay, and the economy was collapsing and all that. So I have no idea what it goes for right now. I would think it would be less than $2,500 an acre. All right, Michael, what percentage of your family's provisions do you get from your land? It's a difficult question because every year is different, and we're not really in the same mode that we were in a couple of years ago. A few years ago, maybe 2010, I would say we grew 80% of our non-meat food. So we had a wheat crop, and we had large gardens, and did a lot of other harvesting. So, we probably raised 100% of our meat, and we probably still do, at least of our necessary meat. So there's a lot of elements you have to look at. We're at the point now where my children are getting older and we know how to do things. And so part of our first, when we first started off, was learning how to do all of these things. And then, so we know that we can survive, and then we know that we can make it, and we know that we can produce enough food. I can, and we can produce enough food on this land to survive without ever going to the store. And so we know enough about food preservation and all the different means. So once we learn those things, then we don't have a problem. We don't have an anti-technology bent. We have an anti-dependency bent. So we do buy a lot of stuff at the store because we like it. So I mean, like sandwich meat. A lot of the meat that we harvest from our land, from our own animals, we have to preserve it in a way that doesn't require electricity. And so that means it's not always really good for an instant sandwich. Because we use some canning, but we don't do a whole lot of canning either, because canning is not a real sustainable, over long term, is not a real sustainable way of food preservation. So because of that, it becomes difficult to, I mean, we just don't need to do that stuff all the time. So when we're in the store, we buy sandwich meat and we buy things that we like, because we know how to do it, and we know we have the materials to do it. So the percentage isn't really an accurate look. And also right now in our lives, because our children have learned how to do everything, all the stuff that we need to do, we don't do as much of it. Like right now, I'm writing full time. I'm writing fiction full time, so I'm not up there all the time. When I'm more involved in the farm, then we spend a lot more time, and we produce a lot more of our provisions. All right, thanks for that question. Next question, and I only had a few writing questions. I had a lot of off-grid living questions, but I'll get to the writing questions at the end. Do you have health insurance? No, we're not required to, even under Obamacare, because plain people are exempted. And in our community, we have a health insurance fund, a health fund. It's not really insurance. And so if someone needs to go to the doctor, we all pitch in, and we all put money into a fund that exists for that purpose. Okay, and a picture I put out the other day, in the background, it was me and my son. In the background, you could see an ice box. And so somebody emailed me and said, hey, I really liked your ice box, but how do you get ice? We buy it at the store. We can have it delivered one way or another. This is one of those things where we know how to preserve food without ice, without electricity. And so we have the ability to do that. And we do practice that constantly. We make cheese, and we make sausages, and we make, we salt meat and all these kind of things. And once we know how to do that, then we feel comfortable utilizing an ice box. Now, some people might ask, well, if you're buying ice, then wouldn't it just be better and cheaper just to buy the electricity for a refrigerator? No, it wouldn't, and let me tell you why. First of all, we'd have to have it run to the house. And we don't want it there. We don't want electricity at the house. And if we did want it for something minor, then we would put up a small solar panel or something. But we don't want to actually become dependent again on a refrigerator for food. We keep a small ice box because there's some things that we like. We like ice and drinks every once in a while, and we like to be able to preserve some of our, like if we buy sandwich meat or if we harvest a bunch of lettuce or something. And at the same time, to bring in a device that plugs into the wall, it encourages you in your mind to increase that. You become less simple. And so you plug more things and more things and more things into it, and then you need more power, and eventually you hook up to the grid, and the next generation just becomes dependent on that. So by making things a little bit harder for us, it's not hard really at all. We buy a bag of ice when we're in town. And if we don't have it, we don't need it. It's something like, if the power goes out or if we can't go to town, there's nothing that's in that ice box that's necessary for us. But it does give us a few comforts. And in a long-term off-grid system where perhaps there was a systemic collapse, we can't harvest ice. We have the way to do that, and we could build an ice house underground that's partially underground and insulate it, and we could harvest ice. There's a lot of different ways to do that. I talk about that in my book, Surviving Off-Grid. Alrighty then, next question. This one's a writing question. Oh, and you know, we use a lot of people think, and I'm at my office, so my office has power. Although almost everything I'm using that you might see right here, my laptop, is all running on battery. I do have solar power down here at the office, and so we use things like this fan. We use the Ryobi tools with these batteries. This is a big one. These are not the best quality tools, Ryobi, however you say it. There's people that make better power tools that use 18-volt batteries or more. But Ryobi has done better at making a lot of stuff that we like to use, like these fans. And so we keep these. We have 7 or 8 of these batteries, and we keep charged off our solar panels. And that way, if we do need to move the air, we got a fan. And this thing lasts 8 or 9 hours. So I can, at night, my wife and I will each have a charged battery, and we take this and we put it in the window, and we close the window on it, and it keeps the air moving. And it's air conditioning to us, you know. But at the same time, we're recharging these using solar power, so it's a lot more sustainable. And we use these batteries for a lot of different things too. In fact, I have a. Hold on, just a minute. They make a lot of things like this. This is a radio. The battery plugs in there, so we can listen to the radio if we want. And we've got lights in the winter. Hold on just a second. I could have planned this better. There are these lanterns. Batteries plug into there. In the winter, a lot of times we'll use those. A couple of those in the office, and lights up the place. We also, I think I've shown this other thing. We use these a lot. This is a Waka Waka, and you can get this on Amazon.com. We use these a lot. It's a solar powered light, and it actually is really, really bright at night. You use this as a flashlight, and you can also, it's got a stand on it, so you can use it for a reading light or something like that. So we use a lot of these type of things that just make our life a little easier. We try not to get dependent on them, so we don't need them. We can produce light a lot of different ways, and we've done it. We save all the lard from the hogs that we process here. We can make lard lamps, and just all different kinds of ways to do it. So, all right. We do a lot of things like here at the office. I've got a record player that plugs in. It's just USB. It doesn't use any, and I can use this off of my laptop. Is not plugged in. It's already charged, and so let me show you this. I got this record player. It's cheap. I think this was like $39 at Hastings, and listen to some music. You find right, and it uses very little electric power, and it runs off of the laptop, so it'll run for hours and hours and hours. All right, so I did get a question here on pricing novellas. Where would you price a novella at 25,000 words? Is $2.99 a good price? Yeah, I think that sounds good. The question mentioned that some of mine, like the Pennsylvania parts, were at $1.49. They were a little shorter than 25,000 words, but I think you just need to price it in a way that you think you're going to move the most number of copies. And $1.49 worked out good for me because there were going to be 5 parts, and I knew what I wanted to price the finished omnibus at. So if it's going to be 3 parts and they're a little longer, like 25,000 words, $2.99 is a good price. Even if it's going to be maybe 4 or 5 parts, because you can eventually make, like I did with Pennsylvania and Wick, you can make the first part perma-free, maybe discount the whatever the new one is that's coming out. But $2.99 would be a good price. $2.49 would be good too. All right, last question here. How many hours a day do you write? when I'm going good, I work 10 to 14 hours a day. So and I'm a full-time writer. A lot of that's doing other business associated with writing. When I'm actually writing a lot and doing well with it, I write probably 3 to 5 hours a day. Lately, I haven't been doing anywhere near that. Had so many other things going on, and so a lot of the business of writing and putting things together and advertising, marketing, and promotion has taken a lot of my time. And we've got a couple of big projects that I'm working on. So I hope to get back to it this month, and especially in November. 3 to 5 hours a day is good enough that I can knock out 2,000 to 3,000 words or more. Sometimes I do a lot more. Sometimes I do 1,500. And doing that for a month is enough for me to pretty much put out a novel. So I have a lot of projects I'm working on right now, so I need to really, really get after it. Oh, and so today is the 6th of October, and I wanted to tell everybody that, if I can find it here, it's over there. See right here. Tomorrow, the 7th, this great book right here, Synchronic, 13 Tales of Time Travel, edited by David Gatewood, and I've got a story in here. This is going to be $1.99. It's a Kindle Daily deal. So if you know anybody, please share it with them tomorrow. And then I also have Wick, this huge, epic, dystopian prequel to The Last Pilgrims. This I wrote with Chris Awalt. This is going to be on a BookBub tomorrow for only 99 cents. So make sure you tell everybody about this. 99 cents tomorrow. And it'll be on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and Kobo, I think. Alright, y'all. If you have any questions for me, if you want to add questions to this section about anything, just send them to mbunker@michaelbunker.com. In the subject line, put Ask Me Stuff. Alright, bye, y'all.